The Sugar Barons: Family, Corruption, Empire, and War in the West Indies. By Matthew Parker. Narrated by Jonathan Cowley. Copyright 2011 by Matthew Parker. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with Inkwell Management and was produced in the year 2011 by Tantor Media Incorporated, which holds the copyright thereto. Introduction. Hot as hell and as wicked as the devil. On a voyage to Jamaica, but held at anchor for 3 freezing days off Deal because of unfavourable winds, Grub Street writer Ned Ward looked around him at his travelling companions. Seeking new opportunities in the West Indies was a decidedly mixed collection of his fellow British countrymen and women. It was January 1697, but it could have been any time between 1630 and 200 years later. The ship's company was a timeless array of the hopeful, disappointed, and desperate. There was a salesman recently fired, 3 broken tradesmen who had lost their credit, 2 parsons who had lost their livings, and several, like me, wrote Ward, who had lost their wits. The 3 women on board consisted of a widow, another woman in pursuit of an errant husband, and a maid who, I fear, had lost herself. The small party of passengers also included a decrepit ship's captain, an agricultural labourer deported for being caught up in a recent rebellion, and a young Irishman who had been got drunk and then been tricked into servitude on the plantations. All were going, wrote Ward, with one design, to patch up their decayed fortune. At last the vessel, the 400-ton Andalusia, weighed anchor and, enjoying a prosperous gale, headed steadily westwards down the channel. Past Land's End, she steered more southerly. After 2 weeks, the cold of January in England gave way to a pleasant warmth. The route to the West Indies followed that taken by Columbus 200 years earlier, south past Portugal and modern-day Morocco, then across the open ocean to Madeira and the Canary Islands, where the vessel could pick up the trade winds blowing towards the Caribbean. Like the others on board, and the tens of thousands of people who had already travelled to the West Indies colonies before the end of the 17th century, Ward, too, wished to patch up his decayed fortune. In short, to make money and to reinvent himself as a success rather than a failure. He was 30, and as a writer, his chosen profession, had made little mark on the world. He was wildly in debt and drinking far too much. What little money he originally possessed had been frittered away in a wilderness of pleasure and enjoyment, chatting up women, consuming oceans of wine, and gambling with fellow Grub Street hacks. With his creditors closing in, he was now, he resolved, going to shun the company of those who had nothing to do but spend money for the conversation of such whose practice was to get it. He was heading for the right place, to a society whose guiding principle, perhaps its only principle, was to make money. It was well known in London that Barbados was currently England's richest colony, and Jamaica was on the way to taking over the title. Already, in a short space of time, families such as the Draxes, Codringtons, and Beckfords had, from humble beginnings, become immensely, obscenely wealthy, selling the sugar from their plantations manned by enslaved Africans. In consequence, the West Indian Islands had become for more than one state the foundation of their commercial and political greatness and a testbed of national virility. The islands, in the most part minute specks in the sea, had therefore become bitterly contested between the rival great powers of the time and were already dictating imperial policy. Sugar itself would shortly become the most important commodity in the world, enjoying a position in the 18th century akin to steel in the 19th and oil in the 20th. As a result, the tiny tropical islands became the strategic centre of the Western world, the hinge on which global history turned. Less than 100 years later, the importance of Jamaica, the size of Yorkshire and smaller than modern-day Connecticut, would contribute directly to the loss by Britain of the North American colonies. In Ward's time, emigrants from England to the Americas had a choice, but any with ambition for great wealth, or indeed hopelessly in debt, dreamed not of the prosaic settlements on the North American mainland, but of the West Indies. This was the place to get rich quick. As planters, eager for new recruits to the colonies, had been writing from the islands, even the most incorrigible jailbird from England could soon
Sample complete. Ready to continue?